So could you take us through the journey of SWIFT GPI? Where do we stand today?
Okay. SWIFT Global Payments Innovation, or as we call it in short, SWIFT GPI, is the largest change in the cross-border landscape that we have seen in the last 30 years. And indeed, it is the new standard right now. So SWIFT GPI definitely improves the customer experience by increasing the speed, transparency, and traceability, a lot of topics that we have heard throughout the day today. And in terms of numbers, if I highlight 2.5 years down the road, so globally we have approximately 3,600 financial institutions committed for the service. Over 610 of those are live with GPI customer credit transfers, covering 148 currencies. And on a day-to-day basis, we see over 1 million GPI transactions that are taking place between 1,400 country corridors. So in that sense, indeed, that's why we proudly say it is the new standard. And when it comes to the region, maybe I complement with that, we see our region no different than the rest. GPI has seen a very strong take-up in our region in the last 2.5 years. Very strong take-up in the Gulf, in Levant, in Turkey, as well as North Africa. So we have close to 300 financial institutions in Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey committing for the service.
Yeah, and I'd echo everything that SWIFT have said there. I mean, we're seeing a lot of interest in this region in particular that's led us actually to build that capability to support GPI into our real-time payment solution.
Mm-hmm. And what's the benefit for the client?
When I look at GPI, I see three main benefits. Again, these are not only for the banks, but also for their customers: speed, traceability, and transparency. Think of a financial institution. Think of the customers of a financial institution, whether these customers are corporate customers or retail customers. By using GPI railways, they can send and receive payments to anyone, anywhere in the world, securely, quickly, and at any given moment, they know where that payment message is. For financial institutions, they enable this. They enhance the client experience by using digital tools, simple to implement, easy to use digital tools, and then they generate this impact, and they reduce also their inquiry costs because they know where the payment message is, so they are able to also help their customers in a better way. So ultimately, in the end, in a very fast-changing landscape of payments, banks remain competitive, and they provide the service expected by their clients.
What would you add?
Yeah, I think I'd add a couple of things. So I think that there's a lot of benefit to the banks from enabling their payment channels to become more real-time, and in fact to use the pre-validation services that SWIFT have exposed, so that when customers are initiating cross-border payments, they can catch a lot of the errors that typically were associated with cross-border payments. There's obviously a lot of information that customers need to provide. SWIFT is providing these pre-validation services that banks can use to check if the beneficiary account is correct and so forth. So you've got upfront visibility right the way through to the customer of the bank to know that actually when I initiated that payment, all the information that I put in is good, and then right the way through the payment process to enable the customer to have that visibility of the payment status.
And what are the challenges posed by real-time and integration? How can ACI answer those challenges?
Sure. So I think the challenges are that many banks have had systems in place for years, 20 or 30 years in many cases, that have supported their SWIFT payments processing. And fundamentally, the way that you send and receive SWIFT payments has not changed significantly during that time period, I think you'd agree, until the advent of SWIFT GPI. And SWIFT GPI has made that something that is far more conversational, far more real-time. A lot of the systems that the banks are using were never designed with that kind of concept in mind. So the banks need to look at how can they embrace SWIFT GPI, how can they support that kind of real-time conversational payment flow without necessarily having to rip and replace all of their legacy systems. How can they surround them with new technology to support that? How can they expose all of the payment status information that SWIFT makes available in the tracker database right the way through to their end customers, whether that be retail customers using a mobile app, or whether it be corporate customers maybe using APIs or something like this. So that's really driven ACI in terms of how we've approached this, to kind of create a solution that the banks can use, both to expose all of that information that SWIFT makes available through to the end users, but also to surround the existing infrastructure that they have to enable them to become compliant with SWIFT GPI with the minimal changes to their existing landscape.